In today's episode of Getting Geeky with Game Relief, I sit down with George Zhang to talk all about his game. I thought it looked cool before we talked. After we talked, I had to have this game. Give it a listen and see if George changes your mind too. Then we'll see what's on Kickstarter, but first a message about our sponsors. This episode is proudly powered by one of our Kickstarter backers, Redwell Games, and their latest game, Six Gun Showdown, the fastest playing tension-filled game of Wild West shootouts for ages 9 years and older. That's on Kickstarter until Friday the 5th of July. More to come within our Kickstarter Corner portion of the show. This episode is powered by Gosh Darn Bubbles from Sandwich Bag Games, which is simple to learn and play, fast and fun. So much fun, in fact, that Michael Wright, who is an unfiltered gamer, went out and got a bubble machine. So run on over and check out their Kickstarter, which will have a link in the show notes, or just head on over to sandwichbaggames.com, look for an interview with them, and if you're listening after that, go back and listen. Plus, be on the lookout for a giveaway over at thegiveawaygeek.com. And if you want some super fast, simple fun, make sure you back Gosh Darn Bubbles on Kickstarter before Thursday, the 20th of June. I love it when a good game hits the floor running on Kickstarter, such is the case with this game. This episode is proudly powered by Bard Games and Fickle, a fairy board game featuring the art of Amy Brown. Fickle is a quick set collection game with unique scoring and press your luck mechanics, customizable gameplay, and gorgeous art. You have 5 rounds to win the ritual of ascendancy with your fellow players by manipulating their fairy cards. Choose a fairy family to gain its power and add it to your scoring alliance. The winner must gather a single fairy from each family or shoot the moon to win with a single faction. It sounds like an awesome game, and the art as well is spectacular. Want to know more? Well, go give my interview with the designer a quick listen. In my interview entitled, Are You Fickle? You Might Be a Fairy. Then after that, make sure you go and enter their giveaway we're doing with them over at thegiveawaygeek.com, in which one winner will receive Sherlock Holmes, The Vanishing Man, Pocket General World War II, and a playmat featuring Fickle art. The prize is valued at approximately 100 USD. Most importantly though, make sure you check out their Kickstarter for Fickle that reached its funding goal in only 12 hours, and then back it before Tuesday the 18th of June.
Getting Geeky with Gamer Leaf, the podcast in which one man strives to level up his geekhood and helping you do the same, one battle at a time. Now, let's get geeky with Gamer Leaf.
Since the day you were born, you only had one goal: to get into the highest ranked university in the world.
Did that sound familiar to you guys? It didn't to me either, but this is the story of Daggers High School that's currently on Kickstarter, and tonight we're lucky enough to have on the creator mastermind behind this game. Is that correct, George? Is that how you fall in line with Daggers High School?
Yep, that's right.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us on Getting Geeky with Game Relief. We really appreciate it, George.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. Now, before we dive into your game and everything, let's rewind a little bit if we could. How did you get into playing tabletop board games, George?
Actually, I was in 8th grade, and my teacher was really into this game called Diplomacy. Just a quick note about it. It's like this game about where you're trying to conquer Europe, and it's interesting because all the players are just negotiating with each other, and so there's no like dice or cards or anything, and so therefore there's like very little luck involved, and it's all about how you can negotiate with other players to try and get what you want them to do. And so I really fell in love with the idea of, games don't just have to be about rolling dice or like Monopoly, but they can be like really cool things where, it's this experience where you're actually talking to people and negotiating with them. So I really like those negotiation games early on, and that kind of led the way into other board games. So I started playing a lot of games like Terraforming Mars and stuff. Um, so yeah, but the very start was diplomacy.
Awesome. And what are you playing these days?
Yeah, sure. So these days I'm playing a lot of things. I actually, so I got a little bit into reviewing board games actually. So some people will send me prototypes and I'll just try them out. So a few of them have been Pope or Nope, which is actually on Kickstarter now. And it was kind of fun because it's like a fast-paced take that kind of game. Um, Other games are like I played Danger of the game recently, which was a party game. So I'm really all over the place these days. But yeah, now that I'm reviewing board games, I try to play those games that are coming in.
Awesome. So you have a review channel, or it's a blog, or a YouTube, or what do you do exactly?
Yeah, it's a blog. I I mean, the idea behind the blog actually was it was just a personal blog, and then it kind of evolved into me talking about games more. And one of the things I realized was that there was like very few people talking about rule books. So one of the things I do is I do rulebook reviews where I focus mostly on the rulebook and not so much on the gameplay. And that's mostly because I just thought that would be a cool way to like differentiate my reviews from other reviews.
Well, that's kind of cool. Yeah, I haven't seen that. So does that mean like if I go to your blog and read through it, I won't have to necessarily read the rule books and be put to sleep? I can just go read your blog and it'll tell me how to play, or what exactly is it?
Yep, that's pretty much right. Yeah, I do talk about like how to play, but I also mostly go over things like how it was organized and like um, how easy it was to read through the rule book the first time. So I go over several different factors.
Oh, good, awesome. Yeah, I'm trying to get into them because we sometimes review games with the time and stuff and the takes to get into the games. It's kind of a chore for me, unfortunately. But I've been trying to get into rule books more so lately. But still, it seems to be kind of a chore. So that's cool that you've been doing that. How long you been doing that for, George?
Not too long. I started probably I want to say like 3 or 4 months ago.
Okay, so you're fresh to the scene. That's pretty cool. So somebody wants to have their rule books reviewed. It sounds like you did a Kickstarter game, or they just want to check out your blog. How can they find that, George?
Right. Yeah, it's my name .com. So JORGEZHANG.com.
Oh, that's easy enough. So there you go, and we'll leave links in the show notes or whatnot. Now, besides creating a blog where you review rule books, word on the street is you have a new game on Kickstarter as well. What can you tell us about Daggers High School?
Yeah, sure. So this one was a game I started developing about a year and a half ago, almost 2 years by now. And the idea was just me and one of my buddies saying, "Hey, high school seems kind of like a game. I mean, you're you're writing your essays, and you've got to get teacher recommendations, and maintain your GPA, and all those things sounded like things you're spending sleep or your energy to try and get better grades and study, and all of that kind of melded into this idea of you're a high school student and you're trying to get into university, so you've got to take actions to choose what you want to do. And just like in real high school, you can't do everything. You have to split your time between whether you're going to socialize and make a lot of friends, or if you're going to spend a lot of time studying and hitting the books. So that's kind of what we wanted to capture in Daggers High, and that's kind of the feeling of the game, where you always want to do everything, but you can't do everything. You have to choose what you want to do.
Well, that's pretty cool. Do they have a slacker character or slacker rules? Like, because when I was in high school, pretty much I'd go leave high school and go watch movies all day. You probably don't have something like that in the game, do you?
Yeah, we actually do. Yeah, so there are special characters that you can play as, and one of them is the couch potato. So most when you're playing the game, most of the time you want to be have very little stress and be kind of calm and relaxed. But the couch potato actually benefits from gaining stress. So when you're playing as the couch potato, you kind of want to gain stress rather than relax a lot. Actually, his special ability instead of relaxing is procrastinating. So you can procrastinate to gain stress, and that brings you closer to getting bonuses.
That sounds like me in real life. Like when it comes crunch time, or even when I was back in school, I could do stuff better at crunch time as opposed to doing it when I had time and time and time. So that's cool. What other kind of characters are in the game?
There's the bookworm, and that character has different classes than everybody else, and they're in like the highest level classes. So normally most characters have to study math in order to get an A in math, and they have to study English to get an A in English. But the bookworm can study math and use those stats to correct their English class to an A. So it's a lot more flexible that way. The bookworm also gets more points for their classes, so by studying they get an advantage. There's the jock, and the jock gets to party and get a lot of friends, and they do it a little bit easier than the other characters, and they get bonuses for getting sports clubs and being the leader in the sports clubs. And then the last character is the teacher's pet. And that character basically cozies up to the teachers, and they try to get teacher recommendations. And so most characters only can get 2 teacher recommendation letters, but the teacher's pet can get an unlimited amount of teacher recommendations. So they're really going for that strategy.
And it's all asymmetrical, so I can be one of those 4 characters, and my play will be a little bit different than everybody else's, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Though there's also vanilla characters, and that's what I would probably recommend starting out with, because that way the game will be a little bit easier for your first time playing.
Okay, so the vanilla characters, those are without special powers or abilities or whatnot?
Yep, they have no special powers.
Okay, so that's pretty cool. Now, it says 1 to 4 players. Does that mean I can play? Some people like solo games. Does that mean solo gamers can play this but just by themselves as well?
Yep, that's right. There's a solo variant. Actually, we just got a playthrough by Jambalaya Plays Games, and yeah, he did a playthrough that you can see on the campaign actually, of the solo variant, and it's basically the same as the regular variant, except instead of drawing cards and drafting them, you're just drawing them off of the top of the deck as your turn goes, and you're just trying to maximize your score. So in this game, you're like scoring points and stuff, and if you score, you're just trying to score more points than you did the last time in the solo variant.
Okay, awesome. Now, per se, me and you sat down for one of the 1 to 4 players, so there's more players. Me and you sat down. What's my turn gonna look like, George?
Sure. So the first thing that we do is we draft cards. So we're all going to draw 4 event cards from the year that we're in. So if we're freshmen, then we're going to draw 4 freshman event cards. We're going to take one of them and then pass the other 3 along and keep doing that until we all have 4 cards. So you're going to see a lot of the cards that will be actually played in the round before the round even begins, which is kind of cool. So then you can kind of anticipate your strategy and choose the cards that will help your strategy the most. And sometimes maybe you want to take a card that you don't actually want, but you really don't want, the person to your left to get it. So you want to draft that first. So yeah, there's a lot of kind of strategy in the drafting. After that, players just take turns playing 1 card from their hand, and that card has a number on it. And that number is the amount of actions you can take. It also has an effect, and the effects can do a bunch of different things, but some of them can hurt other players. Some of them can, you can choose a player and share a beneficial effect for both of you. They're very varied, so the effects can be really crazy sometimes. But yeah, the effect happens, and then you just take your actions, however number of actions is on the card. After that, after everybody plays a card, then the next year occurs. So if it was freshman year, then it becomes sophomore year, and you draw 4 sophomore cards and just start the process over again.
Okay, and you do all 4 years of high school, is that right?
Yep.
And I guess whoever has the most points or victory points or whoever gets into the best college wins, or how do you determine winners?
Yep. So it's going to be the person with the most points at the end of the game will be accepted into in the theme the highest ranked university in the world.
Okay, so that sounds pretty cool. Now, some people might consider it a conflict of interest. I'm not sure though. But what would GeorgeZhang.com have to say about the rule book of Daggers High School?
Oh yeah. Well, actually, I would. I do plan to update it a little bit. I put out a prototype version of the rulebook earlier, and that's the one that's linked on the campaign right now. And that one is I could probably do some work on it because I do talk all about writing rulebooks and how writing rulebooks, how you should structure your rulebook and everything. But it is a lot harder than said than actually done. So for my rulebook, I know I could definitely improve some things, and I've been getting a lot of great feedback on it too. From playtesters who say, oh yeah, it wasn't actually clear what happens when you have zero happiness, which is something, I didn't even consider because I know what happens, but, people who are playing my game and when I'm not there don't. So things like that I need to add in some more clarity, and then a little bit of organizational stuff as well. But yeah, I think the rulebook is workable. But it could definitely use a little bit more of editing.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, just talking to you about it and scrolling through the page, it sounds like a really fun game, so that's pretty cool.
Thank you.
No problem. During playtesting and whatnot, was there anything you had to scrap because it just wouldn't work for Daggers High School?
Yeah, we had to scrap a lot of things. In the beginning, like we wanted to do everything about school, so we had a gym class and an art class. So you had like creativity stats and athletic stats, and those kind of bogged down the game a bit because now we only have four major stats, but we used to have like six or seven, and going from that to only four really streamlined the game. The other thing was we initially wanted players to be able to choose their classes. So you would choose like the AP level of the class and then get more bonuses, but it's harder to get an A there. Or you could choose like the honors level of the class, and it would give you less bonuses, but be easier to complete. But that kind of it took a very long time, I think, for people to like choose their schedules. I mean, I know students probably are familiar with this. Agonizing over your schedule choices can take a really long time, and so to have that in the game really slowed down the game. So even though we really love the concept of that, we had to scrap it.
And probably if you get anybody like me that suffers from analysis paralysis, that'd make it worse too.
Yeah, I mean, so changes like that. I know there were some other changes that were a little bit more minor. Like we went from having influence cards that you could just buy from a shop to putting them in a deck. And that also helped a lot with speeding up the game because when you can have access to all of the influence cards, which there were like 18 of them, it took a really long time for people to choose which influence card they wanted. And then on the clubs used to have special abilities that you could choose to activate by spending friends. And then we simplified that to an immediate effect and yearly effect. So now all the clubs kind of do similar things. So it's less time consuming to kind of read through the card and decide what to do.
Okay, yeah, so that's good you were able to clean that up, and like you said, you'll be cleaning the rule book as well. Now, when it comes to Daggers High School, what makes your game pop is one my audience should go check out, and if they like what they see, back it on Kickstarter today, George.
Yeah, well, one of the things that I really love about this game actually is how much it appeals to a younger audience. I know when I go to conventions and stuff, like teenagers, especially and students, really take to the game very well because it is kind of what they're doing in their life right now. High school students and college students are, balancing their GPA and doing all of that. And I think it actually kind of serves as a little bit of stress relief where you can kind of play the game and feel less stressful about school. And I think that's something that is kind of unique to Daggers High. If you've got teenagers at home or middle school students, or if you're a college student, I think this is a very different experience. I don't think there's. I mean, I did do some research on other high school games, and there aren't very many of them out there. And I think this brings a really new experience where, if you're maybe a little bit have a lot of games about space and maybe aliens and stuff, this one is a little bit different. It's set in a classroom, so it's not something you can really experience in other games as much.
Yeah, for sure, most definitely, and it sounds really cool. And I like something else you did that's kind of original. Nobody, unfortunately, at this time, the time of this recording, nobody's taken advantage of it yet. But it looks like if they are students, whether that be high school or college or middle school or anything like that, and they have an ID or whatnot. depending, they can get a student discount. Is that right, on your Kickstarter?
Yeah, that's something I'm trying out, a student discount tier. Yeah, it's interesting that nobody has backed it because I do have several student backers, and they haven't switched to that tier yet. So, um, yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that that can attract some more students to back the game, hopefully, because ideally, I'd like a lot of students and teens to be playing Daggers High.
Awesome. And there's another one that looks different than anything else I've seen on Kickstarter as well. That's where you can get it immediately, where they can get a prototype now and then the game when it's delivered, I guess.
That's right. Yeah. So this tier kind of appeals to people who don't want to wait because when I know like the delivery date is expected to be in about December, and with Kickstarters even those dates can be delayed. So I think a lot of backers who maybe don't really want to wait for to get the game might want to back at that tier level. So yeah, I mean, I actually the reason that tier level was created was because I had a bunch of extra prototype copies, and I was like, I might as well use them in the Kickstarter campaign. So it's limited to 10, and I think there are 4 or 5 left right now. But that's another option if you want the game faster.
Yeah, at the time of this recording, there's about 4 left, so that's awesome. And it looks like if somebody wants to try it before they back it, they can do that on Tabletop Simulator and pretty soon Tabletopia, it looks like.
That's correct. Yep.
Okay, so that's pretty cool. And we'll make sure I know you've sold me, and if anybody else listening has been sold and they like what they see or hear on Daggers High School, go check out the Kickstarter page right now. We'll leave links in the show notes and go ahead and back it so we can make it become a reality. So that's awesome. And minus coming there to your hometown to stalk you, George, how will people go about keeping up with you and games you have going on? Or you also talked about where you review rule books. How can they keep up with you online?
Yeah. Well, I have a blog, and that we mentioned earlier. So if you scroll down to the bottom of the page, there's a place where you can subscribe by putting in your email address. And I will be posting a lot of posts on my website, and I hope to keep doing that with updates on what I'm doing. And I know a lot of my posts, especially earlier on, were actually about the development of Daggers High. So um, I imagine I might make posts about fulfilling the Kickstarter and stuff, and maybe future games that I'm working on. So if you're subscribed to that, you can get email updates. I'm also on Twitter. My username is super mogeorge. So if you follow me there, then I'm pretty active on Twitter, and you can follow up on some of the updates with my games.
Okay, and it looks like all your social media links are at the bottom of their Kickstarter page as well.
Yep. Yeah. So you can click on there. Yeah, I do have an Instagram and a couple other accounts that you can follow.
Okay, yeah, but definitely if you're listening, go ahead and click on over in the show notes to the Kickstarter campaign so you can check out Daggers High that'll be on Kickstarter through the 27th of June, and so we can make this a reality. Now, we don't want to keep you all night, George, but we really appreciate you coming on Getting Geeky with Gamer Leaf with us to talk all about Daggers High School. We really appreciate it, George.
Thank you so much for having me.
Wow, I so want that game now. Which character were you during high school? Do me a favor and comment on the post on the website, GamerLeafGo.com, and or on our Facebook page, Getting Geeky with Gamerleaf, to let us know which character best describes you when you were in high school, or school period. Let's take a walk, not to the corner store, but to Kickstarter Corner.
What is this place? What is it doing here in the Leaves computer? Oh, it's Kickstarter Corner with the Leaves.
He stood squinting in the noonday sun, the braggart youth in front of him with something to prove. Hey, old-timer, how long has your pine box queen measured up for? Came the shrill voice from down the road, the ineffective taunt barely covering the shake in the kid's voice. Longer than you've been breathing, child, came his gruff reply. Jones noticed the kid twitch and reached for his rusty shooting iron. Did that sound familiar to you? Don't worry, we're here so it will. It's part of the story of Six Gun Showdown. Six Gun Showdown is a quick 5 to 10 minute game where players are characters in a Wild West shootout. The game combines strategy, memory, and a dexterity element. like a quick draw that serves to generate tension and guides the players to read their opponent's actions, really immersing them into the feeling of being in a shootout. Designed as a small box game that is as quick to learn as it is to play, Six Gun Showdown can be enjoyed as part of a board game night, either as a quick game between other games or run as a small tournament of linked games. Players can choose one of 6 characters that each have their own deck of cards and unique dice that require different strategies to be successful. This gives Six Gun Showdown layers of tactical depth that will have you playing the game again and again. Go back the quick draw card game for those with nerves of steel, Six Gun Showdown, before Friday the 5th of July, and make sure you're subscribed to Getting Geeky with Game Relief so you don't miss my sit down with the mastermind of this game when we have our showdown episode. I'm a huge fan of Scooby-Doo, so this game greatly reminds me of such. As you might know, escape rooms are all the rage, but someone is taking it to the next level. During a quiet stroll through the park one peaceful evening, you're attacked from behind and knocked unconscious. You wake up blindfolded. You remove the strip of cloth from your eyes and find yourself in the middle of a forest. Directly in front of you, under the moonlight, stands a weathered, hand-painted wooden sign that reads, Camp Hackaway. Next to you is a flashlight with a note attached, Welcome to Body Count. Terror at Camp Hackaway board game, which is a horror-themed board game for 2 to 4 players. Try to be the first to escape Camp Hackaway. It includes a Kickstarter exclusive expansion pack. Body Count Terror at Camp Hackaway is the first chapter in the Body Count series of horror-themed board games from Game Master Jay. In this chapter, you've been kidnapped and wake up in the outskirts of Camp Hackaway and must survive the night while searching for the one item that will allow you to escape. Meanwhile, crazed serial killer Hackin' Hank stalks the campground, eliminating players one by one. Will you survive? Find out by backing Body Count Terror at Camp Hackaway board game before Thursday, the 4th of July. Thanks to another one of our great Kickstarter backers, we've got another game to add to your arsenal for Kickstarter Corner this week. Bellum of Mutants and Men. One box, countless strategies, battle it out in a tactical 2-player card game where hand management and positioning are key. Behold the world of Bellum, with 2 known factions, Gabalos Colonies and Sapien Kingdom. Which will you side? Will you be allied with the Gobalis Colonies as they conquer new territory to make room for the ever-multiplying brood? Perhaps you will take up arms with the Sapien Kingdom and assist the last of mankind as they struggle for survival. You may even embrace a devious alliance of both factions to complete your barracks, if you're brave enough. Battle it out and become a master tactician in the world of Bellum. Back Bellum of Mutants and Men on Kickstarter before Wednesday the 3rd of July. Tell them Game Relief sent you. I'm a big fan of retro Nintendo games. I was quite glad to hear that one of our proud Kickstarter backers, Vespius Media, just launched Monstrosity Rampage, which gives me the feel of none other than the video game Rampage that I loved back in the day. Unlike the board game formerly known as Rampage, Monstrosity Rampage is a real-time co-op speed dice smash the city game that elevates your adrenaline levels to the maximum. It's even got an awesome narrative fight the evil genius Dr. Spotnik with your monster squad in this epic city-smashing game. Even though here in the Leaf household we prefer competitive games, I'm going to back it now, and you should too. I just found another miniatures game as well. Slightly 30 years ago, I thought these years would be more awesome than they are. We still don't have flying cars nor real hoverboards, but I still am a die-hard true and blue fan of Back to the Future. So, about 30 years in the future from now is Omnicore Protocol. If our world doesn't turn out like this come 30 years from now, I won't be as sad as the lack of Back to the Future tech has made me. Omnicore Protocol is an intra-apocalyptic, squad-based arena combat miniatures game for 1 to 4 players with a third-party enemy that your opponent controls. There's 4 great factions to choose from. My favorite from the looks of it would have to be the one with a huge elephant named Jugger and Bob the Bear. Let's make this game a reality by backing it on Kickstarter before Thursday the 20th of June. Make sure you subscribe to the show so you don't miss the episode in which I sit down to chat about this awesome looking game. Have you been preparing for the zombie apocalypse? You might be just about ready for it, but are you ready for the final minutes of said apocalypse? I didn't think so. Then you're going to need this new game, Final Minutes, the Zombie Apocalypse, which is a board game that puts your survival instincts to the test. If you like gaming and you like a challenge where skill and chance are both involved, then you will like this game. If you are also one of those select few who doesn't want to be eaten by the zombies, then Final Minutes, the Zombie Apocalypse, is definitely for you. Don't be like those people in the Midwest when a storm is scheduled to come to town that are scouring the grocery store for everything they need to get through the storm, because when the zombies come, the weather guy isn't going to be forecasting such things. So head on over to Kickstarter and back Final Minutes, the Zombie Apocalypse today, because I really don't want them to eat your brains.
If I were a zombie, I'd never eat your brain. I just want your heart, yeah, I don't want your heart, I just want your heart, yeah. Oh, if I were a zombie, I'd never eat your brain. I just want your heart, yeah, I don't want your heart, I just want your heart, 'cause I want you.
Or I guess in that instance, we could save your heart. Either way, don't miss out and back Final Minutes, the Zombie Apocalypse today. I'm going to have John, the creator, on the show, so make sure you tune in or come back and listen to my Final Minutes episode to save your brain or heart, as Stephanie Maybe so eloquently puts it in that rendition of the zombie song. The Qualic Report. Time is running out. The constant centuries of war and pollution have taken their toll on our home of Anthobre. Your people are counting on you to save them. Gather the resources you need, build your ship, and escape before it's too late. Only one civilization will survive, and the clock is ticking. Did that sound familiar, you guys? It didn't to me either, but this is the story of Last Days of Anthobre Apocalypse. It's a strategy resource gathering game where the planet falls to pieces beneath your feet, and the first to build a ship and escape wins. Had some tech issues with them, in which we're working to resolve so you can enjoy my interview with the creators. It takes what we love from No Escape the game and adds some more depth to it, in my opinion. Last Days of Anthobre brings together a myriad of familiar mechanics that collate into an exciting and unique gaming experience. With a modular board and 5 different civilizations to pick from, no game is ever the same. The game starts with a slow burn to help prepare your civilization for the perils ahead. Throughout the game, tiles are flipped and removed as Anthobre literally crumbles beneath your feet. Every 5 rounds, the danger increases as the world falls apart faster and faster, and the odds of tragedy befalling your scouts grows ever more likely. For 2 to 5 players ages 12 and up, 30 to 45 minutes per player. Be on the lookout over at thegiveawaygeek.com, as well as these show notes once it's up, for a giveaway they're running with us, and back the game Last Days of Anthobre Apocalypse before the 29th of June, so you can be the first one off the planet of Athelbray once the apocalypse is going on. If you liked any of the games we talked about in today's episode, make sure you check out their Kickstarter campaigns to show them and us a little love. Backing them goes a long way. Plus, make sure to stay up to date on all the giveaways we're doing over at thegiveawaygeek.com. There will be at least 2 to 3 new giveaways going live over there next week. It's our least favorite time as well as yours, so until next episode, make sure you go ahead and get geeky, stay geeky, and bring others in the geek fold by sharing our episodes with others, as well as keeping up with the giveaways we're doing over at thegiveawaygeek.com. Gamer Leaf out.
Gamer Leaf levels up. Tune in next week to see if Gamer Leaf's luck holds up.